Thank you, Buzz. Our two stars of the auction yesterday evening are on the program. We just finished with Buzz. Next is Giulio Neri from Quebec, and he's talking about nut production in Quebec. Giulio.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me at NNGA to invite me for this. This is amazing. I'll try to do this. Apparently, I got a lot of slides, so I got to go on and start her up right away. First of all, before talking about our what we have similar. Yeah, no, it's not working. Right. Okay. Before talking about what we have similarity, I want to talk a few about our differences between Canada. You got the Quebec flag and the Ontario flag, obviously, for the eastern part of Quebec. So one major difference is our dollar, obviously. When I pass the 27 cents difference, it makes a hell of a difference. But that's going to play big later on if ever you want to buy stock in Quebec. It'd be great. Our Celsius and Fahrenheit. Our metric system versus imperial systems. It's always pretty interesting. Our kilometers and our miles and our volume, like gallons. It took me at least 20 minutes to convert my liters, dollars per liters of gas versus gallons, U.S. gallons. So I had to change my gallons and Canadian gallons to U.S. gallons to liters, and then I had to change my money from a dollar to. So it took me at least halfway through New York to get it. First thing, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, that's our point of freeze. And we notice at minus 40 Fahrenheit, it's freaking cold in Celsius or in Fahrenheit. It comes to minus 40. We're all set in that action. Third thing, most important thing, we have the climatic zones. We have two different climatic zone map. We have the Canadian one and the American ones. So if nurserymen from US are using the American ones, obviously, nurserymen from Canada are using the Canadian one. Now, the American one apparently just changed lately. You're using just the degrees, cold winter degrees map. In Canada, about 10 years ago, they added on 7 or 8 other factors to the map itself. Factors like summer, late frost, early frosts, how much snow, how much rain, wind, to give us a more precise map. We can go like in micro details on the zoning on it. It remains basically the same, or almost the same numbers. But one thing you gotta understand or see, and you see it right away, where it's cold in US, it's warm in Canada. The farther south you go, the warmer it is. So once we get to see that, you're gonna see that we're not far away. Another big difference in Canada that we have, some states do have it, but in Canada we now have legalized pot. Yeah, I got it. All you university people, I invite you to come to our universities. We're all good. All right. So our squirrels are really happy, and they eat them nuts after they step. Anyway, gotta keep going. When we promoted this new book, you probably saw it, and when I asked for people to make ads in the book itself, NNGA was the first one to say yes, and they sent me the note, and it had written, and I had to translate, but it had written, "We've been nuts growing friends for a long time." Now, you got to get back to like NNGA. Oops, sorry. Oh no, I got to go back. Yeah, 1910. Right, a lot of things happened since 1910. The New York growers also from 1970s. Mr. Grimo and Song, and in 70 and 72 they started her up. we always had in Quebec, there was always nurserymen or producers that were members of an NGA, and as a librarian or ex-librarian now, I guess, but he sent me some information about a certain Mr. Bernard who used to come over and be a member, and Bernard Contré, who is still a member and one of our nurserymen, has always been into song, so there was always a relationship there. We've been going since 2004, but officially we registered in 2010, and now have about 100 to 125 members, but I'll get into that later, because I got to keep moving, because he tells me a minute. So here's Henri Bernard, which actually we talked about with Mr. Grimo, that he used to go, and so he was planting heart nuts and Bart nuts in areas in southern Quebec, and he was already started doing some plantation and chestnuts also. So then he unfortunately died. That all got lost, and we took it back in 2010, and that's what happened in 2000. In 2000, I was working for a farmers advocate group. I'm a forester. I worked in, now at that time it was called agroforestry. The word agroforestry in Quebec in 2000 just started. There was only 2 nurseries. There were only three nut nurseries, and they were very scarce. Half a dozen producers. We couldn't get any financing on any types of planting nut trees because they were thought we were nuts. And also Quebec forestry is based on 2x4s, so they're planting spruces, pines, and billions and millions. Hardwoods is like nothing, was nothing. It's getting better. Besides poplar to make plywood. So that had to be worked on, and so we had no idea of the potential. So we created this little club, and we call it a club. Okay, and the fun part about this club is that, and I was working with Farmers Advocate, I could start a little project with Bernard Contré. So we started, and we just planted 8 farms, and there was a long process there to the 8 farms, and we just planted whatever we could that produced nuts, and no research to it. Whatever we can find, whatever we can plant, the producers, the farmers gave us a certain amount of acreage, and we just made sure that every acreage that we planted had water, and we're also planted with tutors and take care of the field mice and planted on plastic. So I try to do a real good job. And what we planted is all there. It's all there right there. Americanas, Corliss, Avellanas, Cornudas, Cariovaras, obviously. Castanillas. We worked on some castanillas. There's some nice stuff going on in there. Fagus. Beech nuts. Did you see the beautiful Copper Beech in front of the Copper Beech building? Jesus, this is amazing. I seen one bigger like that, and it's in Montreal Botanical Garden. So Fagus, when I wanted to plant beech, everybody, all the horticulturalists and everybody says, no, you can't plant beech in the fall. It was a fall plantation. They're all going to die, this and that. You're wasting your money. I said, okay, well, I got to try it anyways, right? So, hey, 100%, all survived the transplantation, and they're still all alive, okay, now. So it's like, okay, so we found that out, and then we tried all the types of juglans possible, hybrids, Manchurian from Bernard, yeah, and of course Grimo. So I had Grimo source, Bernard Contré source, Lawyers Nursery in Colorado at the time, and a bit of Kramer Nurseries, which is a horticultural nurseryman. So at that point, so the follow-ups were continued, and a lot of research has been taken over that section, which I won't get into it. But if you wanna get some more information on that, we can talk later for sure. So, and the oaks, very important. We did a lot of types of oaks also. So we did this research. We continued around to to promote nuts. It started like the 10 major members that started in, and we called it a club, so we had 2 parties a year, and just shoot the stuff. and then so okay, well this is getting interesting. More people are joining in, and so we started. Okay, let's create a technical data sheet per every type of trees that we planted, and so we did, and they're still available on our website, free of charge, in English. That one is French and English, and I think it's a great way for new farmers to start with a technical data sheet like that, followed up with our book, obviously, that gives a lot of information on planting. At the same time, when we start discovering things around Montreal, so that's a botanical garden in Montreal, Corylus colornac, Turkish filbert. Look at the size of them. You know, they're huge. Now the only problem is the compaction is starting to get to them. That was this fall when we met back my students. And but they're, so they grow very well. At the botanical garden, there's quite a few nut trees that are, unfortunately, with budget cuts and all that, are not too good. But anyways, we also every fall, depending on where we are and who's available, we go out and pick nuts out of wild stuff. And one of the places we would go to the cemetery, where there's the female ginkgos. So we did one day, we went and picked female ginkgos. Are you serious? Okay, let's go. So, sorry. And a row of white oak on the side of a road. And then, Mr. Grimo, I'd like to see that's the butternut that we found with me and my students. We went to do some trimming at one place, and he says, "Go see my butternut. Look at the size of that butternut. Not sick at all." Okay. And the other is a bark nut from once planted from Bernard, that gentleman I showed you before, and that picture was 2 years ago. So, I mean, we've got a lot of nice butternuts, and that's something we should follow up through and research. The butternuts that are open, wide, big branches are not sick. The butternuts that are in the forest, on the understories, because we never managed butternuts properly in Quebec, they're all sick. Anyway, let's keep going. So, I put that in, $16,000. We put $16,000 into a machine to try to cut the black walnuts, because in Quebec we're talking hazelnuts and black walnuts. That's the 2 first production. So I can talk about it later if you want to talk about it. It's sitting in a corner somewhere gathering dust. But hey, yeah, you gotta try. Brings us to 2018. When NNGA came and visited us at La Baluchon. Donc, it was a really nice event, and it really put the nut producers on the map in Quebec. Okay, all the technical data that came out, and people took that, a lot of information, and started to go with it. And I'd like maybe to invite you guys in 2028. 10 years later, and see, just a little shot like that, we can talk about it later. Quebec, this is our ecosystem, this around Montreal. Around Montreal, it's you got sugar maples and hickories together. That's they're both together. After that, you go to sugar maples and lindens. Okay, that's the succession roughly, and then we go into the birches, beeches, and other stuff. We had the 45th parallel, 46th, 47th, so we're going to be talking about all these sections here, 47 up to 48. We're going to be talking about all that region there. So, on our site, our website, we started a Google map with producers that produce nuts, with nurserymen that produce plants. So now the first 2, it's now 10, 12, 15, with excellent nurserymen in there. That point is unbelievable. And then we've got all the producers that are starting to put in there. Producers that produce nuts, mostly. Some of them have been using, right there, right up there au lac, called Lac Saint-Jean. We found two producers, Bernard and another Bernard, and another one. They've been doing hazelnut U-picks, okay, for 12, 15 years. Okay? They sell out in 2 weekends. And they take reservations. Okay, you're going to come in at 9 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. People come in, they clean up all the hazelnuts, gets paid, he doesn't have to labor or anything. And he's up there, up there, way up there. Okay, on that side of the lake though, and when they're talking lake effect, obviously you got much warmer here than it is on the other side. There's a new nurseryman on that side. I said, you're on the wrong side, buddy. Get out of there. Get out of there. Get out of there. So, and then we put the arboretums, and so this is going to be ongoing for sure. And again, it's all there. So quick, before we get to the videos, I did a quick survey of 7 people answered me, 7 producers. 3 of those were nurserymen. Okay, so in all, roughly on those 7, we have 71 acres of hazelnuts, and 14 of those hazelnuts acres are truffles, truffle inoculated. So we got Quédillon, we got a nurseryman, Quédillon, that does inoculation, so they're in trial, so that's going to be kind of interesting. Black walnut, 56 acres, and that's nothing, because my foresters never answered this question. So I can triple or quadruple the black walnut production in Quebec in acres. Butternuts, 9 acres. Butternuts and their other species. Heart nuts, 13. Okay, so Bartnut, 13 also. Hickories, including northern pecans. Northern pecans near Montreal. I got a guy that's been 3 years in a row. He has northern pecans and he sells them out. 13 acres of that. Oaks, 16. Chestnuts, 2.5. Okay, and other nuts, 7 acres. So just to give you a little idea, and that's just 7 of the members. All the other members are smaller, obviously, but yeah. So I'd like to show you. Video is Monsieur Boucher. Monsieur Boucher is is on the south shore of the St. Lawrence under Montreal. And the next one is the one we visited in 2018. Yvan and Alain Perrault, they were just starting up at that point. Shots from the spring. This is David Lapointe I was telling you about. He does the grafting, the heat grafting. Now he started that too, and I like him. He really researches all his nuts, his hazelnuts, all quantified real good. So there's another one. He's close to Marco from Nutcracker Nurseries, which is another nursery that grows well there. That's it. And Bernard, our befriended Bernard, is my associate, the one we started it with. He's the one that got me into nuts. Because don't forget, the forestry, for 20 years I was in forestry and nobody talked to me about nuts, you know, until 20 friggin' years ago. So like, hey, I'm in forestry. So, and he wanted me to show you his prize hybrid hazelnut with beautiful, very thin shell and a lot of meat inside. And is 4 chestnuts, Castanea dentatas. They're about this big. You don't see the trunk there, with no disease on them. He's in Joliette area, so he wanted me to show you that. And to finish off, Maxime, my friend Maxime here from Biapta, he's working on, he put in place 23 producers in the lower St. Lawrence. Remember on the 40, we were at 46th parallel, 47th parallel, okay? And let's not forget that we're right beside the body of water, so we were getting those Canadian Zone 5 and 4 and 3. So these testing, they chose 120 hazelnuts, and they planted those same varieties at the 23 sites, so they're testing the hardiness and the production and etc. We're helping him and following him as much as we can. And they're going to have a congress, hazelnut congress, this fall in November, and some members that are going to come and speak there. So you're all invited at that particular thing. And that's it. Yeah, with our book, that was, I don't know if you saw it, but like I said, there's nice pictures in there if you don't speak French. And if you do, so you got here it's the David Lapointe's nursery, and here is the farm we saw on the video at that point. Yes, thank you. To finish, French alphabet. A, say A. B is B. Say so you can easily.
Okay, we have time for one question.
Oh my God. Oh, yeah. I'm going to make the booth anyway.
Questions?
Very good. Yes.
Are you going to translate that book into English?
Ah, the big question. That to be the. We hope so, for sure. For sure, we hope so. It's just it took us 3 years to do the French one, and so I think the translation is going to be easier at that point. So we're just breathing out, selling as much as we can because we went in our pockets to promote that, but I hope so.
Merci.
Bienvenue. All right, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia.